You guys are up.
Oh, boy!
You are now about to witness the strength of street knowledge.
This program is for mature audiences only.
Please have your fake ID ready.
Get out of bed, you lazy
We found the only way to start the day. Get on the go with radio. We like to use it for household music. The daily chores are never a bore. For weather information, this is the station.
3, 2, 1.
Rise and shine, sleepyhead!
I'm not letting you go to work today.
Wait, what?
Everybody, listen up. Welcome to The Drive.
Morning, morning, morning.
You're gonna talk.
Get on the phone at 339-1140.
Pretty awesome, huh?
Jump in on our text line at 441140.
Everyone is talking about it. You must know that.
The Drive starts now.
Hey now. Hey now.
Welcome into The Drive, Wednesday edition, live from Mesa, Arizona, home of the Oakland Athletics spring training exploits. We are down here. We are on KHTK.com via videocast because of Jiffy Lube Multi-Care, same great services. But now with brakes, tune-ups, and tires at select locations, visit JiffyLubeCA.com for powerful, valuable coupons and a location near you. Behind me is Joe the engineer doing a fantastic job all week. First time we've had a third party down here, especially somebody who actually knows what they're doing. Just made the trip that much more easy, made the broadcast and the videocast possible back to you. Across from me is a coughing Kyle Madsen, who was just dabbing, as most millennials do.
Yeah.
Hello, Kyle.
Hey, what's going on, man?
Thought we'd do a show today.
It's a good idea. Really strong idea by you.
Thought we would do a show today in which we're going to have all kinds of guests. The A's have been fantastic in providing us content for you all. Lou Trevino, Sean Murphy, Robbie Grossman, and Matt Williams.
Are you going to be able to handle yourself for that one?
Here's what's happening. So remember when we went to barbecue last night?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, we did. So remember at one point I was explaining to Joe, the engineer, who is a barbecue master. Good faith.
Good faith.
Oh, by the way, Jay Marshall back in the studios doing everything, and
I'm not taking credit for that.
Spinning plates. And
that intro just ends cold.
Yes. God, who put that stuff together? Jeez, whoever did that needs to do a better job. Carmichael Dave. So Joe is a connoisseur of all things barbecue, and along with Jason, our other engineer, they are like super barbecuers, right?
They're like engineer barbecuers.
Jason and Joe are funny to me, and I'll tell you why. In a world of engineering and radio, in which I'm just going to be honest, in my personal experience working with radio engineers in my approaching 20-year radio career, they are usually really weird. And I used to have a theory, I think a lot of other people have had the same theory, that the close proximity to radio waves, electricity, and all the other things that go on when putting together radio stations melted some different parts of the brain.
Sure.
Joe and Jason are actually, they're like quote-unquote normal people. Like you could not, I've worked with engineers in the past where most of them you would, if you'd worked in the business and you spent 5 minutes with them, you go, engineer. Absolutely, engineer. Our previous engineer before they got here, I won't blow him up by name, but I actually love him. He was a great guy, super cool guy, loved him to death. Definitely a radio engineer.
Fit the stereotype.
Definitely fit the stereotype. These guys don't. They're normal people you would never know, but they're also very, very good at their jobs.
They're just like us.
They're just like us. Extremely normal. They're actually more normal, I think, than us. But I also think they're both. Here's what I've discovered about Joe and Jason. As Joe's like 5 feet from me here, but here's what I've discovered. Let me finish here. Because what I'm about to say is going to come off bad until I explain it.
Man, I am excited for this.
They are two of the most intelligent yet stupid people I know, and
Good start.
And I'll explain why. Because I see their talents. Like, they put together not just the studios where we're at right now, but our old studios in Madison Avenue, right? Yep. I would put those studios up against any studios in the country, regardless of market.
Sure.
And I've seen a bunch, not all of them, but I've seen a bunch to know a little bit of what I'm talking about. Yes, I've done many shows outside the market. They're also very talented, for example, at barbecue. I mean, I'm not talking about like they can throw something on the grill and here you go. Like it's literally a science to them. And I've tasted it. It's fantastic. So they're the type of guys who they're good-looking guys. They have good personalities. They're very talented at what they do.
Strong hair, beard combos.
Correct.
Both of them.
So let me say why I think they're dumb. A little bit, just a little bit. Because I think they're in the wrong jobs. And I've often wondered this about them. Like, I feel like they could both make a lot more money doing other things.
Barbecuing.
Like whether it's barbecuing, whether it's doing whatever. Like, for example, if Joe and Jason moved to Silicon Valley and just kind of hung out, I think, for a week, I feel like eventually, within a week, they would both have jobs that, like, quadruple their salary right now. And I know it's not all about money. I get it. But I'm just saying, I feel like they're way too talented for the position they're currently in, if that makes sense.
Sure.
You
I
see
feel
what I'm
the same
saying?
way about me.
So what I just did there, Kyle, is that was a roundabout insult, but was actually a tremendous compliment to both of them.
Yeah.
It's fun to insult people.
Sure.
But in that aspect, I feel like I'm being extremely complimentary. I just always feel like either A, they're very low drive, and that's not a pun on the show. Like, some people are just like, I don't need the money. I'm happy where I'm at. I've got a nice family, and I love the city I live in. I love my job. I love the people I work with. I don't need to make $1 million a year. Or there's just serious lack of motivation. I don't know which one it is, but I always feel like we have these guys for a limited time only. So, moral to the story, I choose to enjoy them while we have them.
Okay.
You tell me all the time how you don't like either of them.
Yeah, I can't stand
Right,
these guys.
but that's like a
my
personal
goodness.
thing, right?
Yeah, I just don't like them.
Like yesterday, for example.
Like I'm jealous of the hair.
Joe got you pretty good when you said, guys, we can leave in either 10 minutes or sooner because we were all ready to go eat. And I set an alarm for 10 minutes, and it went off. And, of course, you were busy over there pretending to type.
I just I was pretending to work.
But then, unbeknownst to me, Joe followed up with another 10-minute timer that also went off. And you looked at me like, dude, come on. I'm like, this was not me, dude.
That was great.
This was not me. Speaking of Joe the engineer, when I just
the
said
Ford trade really messed me up.
When I just said this is not me, dude, and I heightened my voice a little bit. I'm very big on peripheral vision. My little green light went red. Is that okay? It's not okay.
Beep.
Sorry. Hello. Ooh, see that?
Oh my Lanta.
So I can talk like this and see how it's getting a little bit yellow.
Yeah, don't talk any louder.
But if I go, oh boy, all red. Moral to the story: can't raise my voice.
Nope.
Gonna have to do the show like this.
I think that Joe did that on purpose.
Or turn the knob down. You see that? You see that? Way too smart to be doing this. How's that? Look at that.
Oh, my.
Look at that.
Man, I'm so proud of you right now. You just engineered by yourself.
Hey, Jay Mars, am I like significantly quieter than Kyle now, or does it sound normal?
That sounds normal.
Okay, good. There we go. And I just grabbed some engineering from back of this. Do you see that?
Look at that.
Keeping the sound right.
Using your resources.
Overall, we'll talk about this later, but your thoughts on the trip. I feel like we still have a third of the trip to go. Mm-hmm. But I feel like so far we have gotten some good A's stuff, and I want to remind everybody that A's stuff, and by stuff I mean interviews, all available at khdk.com on demand. You can also see plenty of content on the KHDK YouTube channel, which you should already be subscribed to, and the Instagram for KHDK has really been doing a fine job indeed. You're an A's fan.
I am.
Overall, do you think we've done? You think the A's have been great to us?
Yes,
you've been happy with the trip.
Yeah, always. It kind of stinks that they haven't had a home game while we were here.
They have not,
and the weather's not been great.
And dare I say, even maybe bigger than those two, the stinkiest thing for you, other than the results of our barbecue last night, has been that I'll bet you wish this trip did not coincide with NFL free agency.
Yeah, that would have been ideal.
It has cost you many a contact.
Yes.
Correct. I do truly feel bad for you. From the 916, are you guys aware you have listeners right now? Let me just say.
No.
We always pretend like we don't have listeners at all. Because here's the thing. Worst case scenario, our expectations are met.
Who is that from the 916?
That's from the 916.
916 listener.
Listener.
Thank
you.
Thank you personally.
Now might be a good time to throw out the Jiffy Lube text line at 441140. And, let's make this a check-in day, would you? I wouldn't mind taking a little roll call this morning. We're in this studio. It's still dark outside. As we look, we can barely see the white tarp on the Hohokam Stadium field. So I wouldn't mind having people check in. Let's go ahead with your first name, where are you from, and whether or not you're listening, which obviously if you're texting us, you are. That's a weird
Over, under 2.5 Bill in Elk Groves.
Bill in Elk Grove is that's the strongest of all listeners. I'm going to say over. I'll bet you we get exactly 3 Bill in Elk Grove. So we've got – this is the time of year where I think Kyle may shine the most. Kyle also writes for NinersWire.com and is on top of all NFL free agency. It's one of the only reasons I like Kyle being on the show.
Thanks,
it saves me from having to book other guests. I can just bring the editor and writer at NinersWire.com on the show. Well, let's see. For 3 hours a day. And Kyle will help break down all the moves from the 49ers. Le'Veon Bell on the move. Odell Beckham Jr. on the move. So there is a lot of football stuff.
He's on the Godell Beckham Jr.
We got a break. Live from Mesa, Hohokam Stadium. Lots of A's stuff today, lots of football stuff today, and, of course, we'll talk about your Sacramento Kings, Russell Westbrook, and everything else dramatic in the world of sports. It's The Drive, back in a couple with Morning Brew on Sports 1140 KHTK.
It's time for the Morning Brew. Now, here's Carmichael Day.
The Cleveland Browns acquire wide receiver Odell Beckham Jr. in a trade with the Giants.
We're going to talk a lot about this today. But the former caller in me wants to supersede that real quick by thanking everybody on the Jiffy Lube text line. All the check-ins we've gotten. Pages and pages of check-ins. Coach Molly, Jason from Carmichael, Joe is listening, Johnny,
right there.
Eric, Romeo, Gordon, Tim. Justin's on his way to Sac State from Stockton.
Stingers up.
Ben, some guy named Garbage Man in Vacaville. That's unfortunate. And Mason in Roseville says, I'm not listening. I don't know if that's my son, Mason, or not. In Roseville. I hope he isn't listening. All of you, love you, and thank you for listening. Yeah, Odell Beckham Jr. is going to the Cleveland Browns. I wonder if we polled Kings fans and said, take your favorite team aside. Put them aside. You're a Raider fan, you're a Niner fan, whatever it is. Put it aside. What second team would you like to see win the Super Bowl next year? And I'll just bet you the Cleveland Browns would win in a runaway because I think and remember, it always ties back to the Kings. Mm-hmm. We as Kings fans identify with this. And you now have the Browns that have gone from perennial joke of the league.
Right.
They haven't done anything yet. But going into next year, when they've got guys like Nick Chubb, Duke Johnson, obviously Baker Mayfield, Jarvis Landry, David Njoku, what?
I just think it's funny that you went to Duke Johnson.
I'm starting to, yeah, I know. And now Odell Beckham Jr., guys like Myles Garrett on defense. Like, they have bona fide superstars on this team. And as you and I both know, you can't just have the name superstars. You have to have the guys we don't know, the lines, back and forth and all that. But this is a team that is going to have real expectations next year.
Yeah, they should win the AFC North.
And is that going to do you think that's going to be the overall expectation, that they are the favorites to win the AFC?
Yeah,
North?
And you're going to get people who want to get their hot takes out now that are going, I think the Browns are a Super Bowl team next year.
Sure.
And I mean, they may very well be. Like, they're that talented. But how is Freddie Kitchens as a head coach? There are still some question marks for sure, but I think right now they have to be the odds-on favorite to win the North. Hard
for me to see them not being a favorite over the Ravens, the Bengals, and now what you would think would be a depleted Steelers team.
Yeah, right.
And that depleted Steelers team, by the way, ties into a story we have coming up in a couple of morning brews. Here is number 2.
The 49ers acquire edge rusher D. Ford in a trade with the Chiefs.
You wrote all about this yesterday. I probably should have read that question to you. D. Ford from the Chiefs. This gives the 49ers what would appear to be a bona fide edge rusher. Everybody's very excited about this, so I'm going to ask you this question. Why is this a possible bad move for the 49ers? What's the downside, potentially?
That he's one-year wonder, I guess.
Okay.
He's only had 2 seasons. He's been in the league for 5 years. He's had 2 seasons with double-digit sacks, including 13 last year. He's had some injury problems, but we won't really know the full scope of the risk until we see the contract details, which aren't fully out yet. It's 5 years, $87.5 million is the report.
Knowing John Lynch, it's front-loaded.
Right. So that'll be interesting to see what the exact details and terms look like.
I had a lot of Chiefs fans in my mentions. Many of which were like, you're getting a great guy, you're getting a great player, et cetera, et cetera. But there was more than a few that said, make sure he stays on sides. Does that ring a bell for you that D4 is the guy that jumps off sides a lot?
Okay, I can't tell if you're doing a bit.
No. I literally did. I literally had.
Okay, he was the guy who was lined up off sides against the Patriots.
Oh my God, you're exactly right. That totally flew over my freaking head. Okay. Because I saw like multiple people. I'm like, God, is he like a guy?
Just notoriously lines up off sides. No, and he came out and said he's not a guy that can get away with that, and because usually you get a warning or whatever. The ESPN bottom line when the Chiefs franchise tagged him originally, the ESPN bottom line was like Chiefs franchise tag D Ford, career high 13 sacks last season, lined up offsides versus Patriots, and it was like,
see,
geez.
You know, it finally bit me. I actually got away with talking about the AFC Championship for a long time. I was in the middle of the ocean, if you'll remember correctly, during the AFC. I saw 5 minutes of it.
Yeah.
Very spotty reception. Had to do all my work off of tape and off of box scores. And off of replays. It finally got me. I wasn't doing a bit. I completely forgot. It was that D Ford that was off.
I know that.
I thought it was a different one.
Yeah.
Yes, the Chiefs, everybody's pointing out, the Chiefs also have Kareem Hunt. And if Kareem Hunt is playing and Kareem Hunt is back, then we'll put him in the mix. What?
The Browns.
They don't have
Chiefs.
Kareem Hunt.
Brew number 3.
I don't want to do brew number 3. I don't want to do the show anymore. I just want to go home. So anyways, whether or not Dave Njoku works out for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers is something we're all going to have to figure out. Thank you, Jay Marshall, for pointing that out to me. Number 3. Comments.
Le'Veon Bell decided to join the Jets.
I don't care. I don't care. The Jets.
Former Packers running back Le'Veon Bell.
Would it be former Packers defensive lineman Le'Veon Bell?
Great point.
It's pretty self-explanatory that Le'Veon Bell is going to the Jets. What I want to ask you is there were things out there, I think I might have seen you write about it or allude to it, that the Niners actually were very much in the running and the Jets came over the top for Le'Veon Bell. Do you pay stock into that?
No. Okay. That was one report from Jeremy Fowler at ESPN. I don't buy that.
Wow.
I could see if the Niners just threw out an offer like, hey, if you want to come here for this cheap, but they weren't going to spend big money on a running back. They paid Jerick McKinnon a ton last year. He's coming off an ACL, and then Matt Breida was really good last year. That's not in the Kyle Shanahan, Bobby Turner realm to go get a player like that.
So to be clear, you're calling Jeremy Fowler a liar.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Let's break.
At least you stand by it. Jay Mars wants to take a break, and I do what Jay Mars says. We will take a break. When we come back, I will attempt to learn football, and we will also finish this NFL free agency roundup coming up at 6:45. We're going to recap this A's visit. We haven't talked really a lot about the upcoming A's season on this trip, so I want to do that for a little bit. And then at the top of the hour, Russell Westbrook was fined. We have news on the fan and whether or not he'll be attending any more Jazz games. And I think we're getting a little bit more context to this whole situation as the days roll on. We'll talk about that next on The Drive, Sports 1140 KHTK.
It's The Drive on Sports 1140 KHTK.
I want to send a message to all the Drive listeners that are tweeting me at Carmichael Dave throughout the weeks, months, even years. Videos of them doing something or something happening while Toto's song Africa, this song, is playing in the background. Just keep it up. I don't ever get tired of them. Somebody has sent us a loyal listener. Who is this? Loyal listener at Kingo, Kingo, slide, whatever that means.
Yeah, of course.
At Kingo Slide. Just what appears to be him in the dark with either a camera or a laser pointer, something making a little orange dot, and he's just kind of, it's mesmerizing. He's just kind of moving the dot around while Toto's Africa is playing. I watched the whole thing a couple times, and I showed it to you, so I'm fine with that. Also, coming up soon, Kyle and I will be debuting Kyle's film school on the video and on the podcast, where we Kyle's criminally low viewership of classic and wonderful movies.
Very low movie IQ.
And I actually had a little event set up last night. We were I took them to my favorite barbecue place, Joe, the engineer, and Kyle, to my favorite barbecue place down here, which I will not mention because I don't want other people going in. We already had to wait like 10 minutes to get in. I mean, come on.
10 minutes with 3 tops.
Was it 3?
It was not very long.
I was out on the phone. So we waited instead of being ushered in to our seats, which is what should happen. We did get a tour of the smokers in the back, which was very really cool. In fact, they mentioned they're serving 3,500 people today. It's a very, very big day for them. And then going back to the house, a movie that of course Kyle hasn't seen, and what was even more shocking to me was Joe the engineer hadn't seen, was True Romance. Many of you will remember 1993, Christian Slater, Rosanna Arquette. And one of the things I have a lot of fun with watching with somebody who hasn't seen it before is when their jaw drops at the cast. I mentioned Slater and Arquette, Val Kilmer, James Gandolfini in a role that really got him the Sopranos role. Samuel L. Jackson was in it for about 15 seconds. Brad Pitt played a stoner on a couch that had maybe 2 minutes, 3 minutes total of screen time. Everyone from Michael Rappaport. I'm missing people. Written by Quentin Tarantino. Like the cast was insane.
I remember you telling me I needed to watch this movie, and I was like, I've never heard of this movie.
Right.
I'm not watching some dumb movie that you like that nobody else ever talks about. Nobody in my life has ever spoken about True Romance. All the other movies on the list I've heard, I've seen reference, da-da-da-da.
Sure.
But then I looked at the IMDb, and I was like, all right, I get it.
Yeah, True Romance to me is a horrifically underrated movie that somehow has gone under the radar, but to me is an absolute classic movie with really two guys I didn't even mention were in this movie. The scene between Christopher Walken and Dennis Hopper in Dennis Hopper's trailer is one of the best scenes of any movie I've seen in 20 years, where you have a masterclass of actors one-on-one going at it. Walken in his absolute prime. Hopper towards the end of his prime, but still just absolutely perfect. Anyways, point is, put it all together. What Kyle
I can't wait to watch some of these movies and hate them and just drag them.
It's going to be.
I can't wait.
If it's a bit, I'll sniff it out. If it's not a bit and you drag them, it could cause a serious rift.
Or conflict.
Anyways, I put all this together. I rented the movie, and what happened? Kyle went and hung out with some friends. Joe and I watched the movie. We bonded. We watched. We were on a couch together. We sat next to each other. We had a cushion in between us, but still. Watched the movie.
Had a cushion in between.
Had a cookie.
I was hanging out with our buddy Mark from the A's.
All right. Well, Gary Oldman is in the movie. He plays a pimp. Anyways. True Romance is an
Hey, Dave.
Yes.
Before you move on to the next thing, I know you were talking about people on your Twitter account.
Yes.
Is there a guy named Bruce that constantly harasses you?
Dude, I'm being perfectly honest here. I get constantly harassed by a lot of people. Bruce does not ring a bell. Why?
Because his son is a big-time fan of our YouTube page, comments and likes and watches everything, and he left a message for you that I wanted to read.
Okay, please.
Oh, yes, please.
No,
thank you.
Is he harassing me too?
No, even better. He says, Yo, Dave, there is another Bruce on Twitter tweeting at you, and that's not me, LOL, just my father who thinks he knows basketball. That's what I have to deal with when your father decides to give you the same freaking name.
Oh. Well,
that's awesome.
Bruce Jr., do us a favor. I try to keep up with the YouTube comments I can. Hopefully you're on Twitter and you can tweet me at Carmichael Dave. Jay, what's your Twitter account, by the way?
At JMars with 2 Z's.
At JMars with 2 Z's. Tweet one of us or get a hold of us somehow. Even call Jay in the studio. I need your dad's Twitter handle. So that way I can actually – I need to know who this is now. Because if Bruce doesn't ring a bell other than don't bring me down, Bruce. But that is not the guy who's harassing me. That Bruce Jr., I appreciate you going out of your way. And, to be honest, 90% of the people on my Twitter feed harass me about the fact that they know basketball. And more often than not, they do not. Kyle is getting dragged for not watching True Romance. That's okay. I'm not worried about that. Kyle, before we break here, NFL free agency roundup, is there a clear-cut, in your opinion, winner so far? Is it even fair to ask that?
I think the Packers have done a really nice job.
Okay.
They signed former Bears safety Adrian Amos, who's a really good player, but the Bears just couldn't retain him for salary cap reasons. Then they got Preston Smith, a very good edge rusher from Washington, and they also signed Zadarius Smith, who was kind of an underrated edge player for the Ravens. So they got 2 edge rushers, they got a good safety, and that's really been the issue in Green Bay, right? I mean, they have playmakers on offense with Aaron Rodgers, and now they just need to build a defense, and they did a good job of that yesterday.
Do you think the D Ford acquisition, do you think that adjusts the draft strategy for the 49ers when it comes to Nick Bosa?
No.
And whether or not they grab him?
No.
Okay. So
you need multiple edge guys.
Okay.
And D Ford is a little more versatile.
Mm-hmm.
He can probably play a little bit of linebacker if they need him to.
Sure.
But I imagine he'll mostly be a defensive end, and Nick Bosa can play the other side, and it gives them some options that they didn't have last year with multiple game-changing edge rushers.
So you have Nick Bosa and D Ford.
Yeah.
You have all the capital they've draft capital they've put in, whether it's a homegrown Eric Armstead, whether it's DeForest Buckner. I'm missing somebody other than Reuben Foster, who's no longer with
Eric
the team.
Armstead.
I said Eric Armstead first.
Solomon Thomas.
Thank you, Solomon Thomas out of Stanford. They have so much invested in that defense. If everybody's healthy or relatively healthy, is this an above-average defense?
It has to be.
Okay.
And if it's not, then you have serious issues going forward. But, yeah, I think we've seen what Armstead is, like really good against the run. He's not going to give you much in the pass rush. Solomon Thomas is just kind of like an average rotational player. I think they botched that pick pretty badly. But if Nick Bosa or whichever edge player they take in the first round, because there's no guarantee that he's going to be available, if they are as advertised, if they are a top 2, top 5 type of player, then they'll be in good shape, I think.
If the 49ers finish the year 8-8 or worse, and their defense is average or worse, is John Lynch on the hot seat?
Yeah, probably. Like, he's not going to get fired after this season, but there'll definitely be like all right, like, if you don't make the playoffs next year and make some serious noise, there's going to be a giant problem.
Is Jerick McKinnon, do they have the backfield? Do they have the backfield with McKinnon healthy, in your opinion, to be a successful team?
Yeah. Yeah, they had the 18th ranked offense last year using 3 different quarterbacks,
Sure.
and McKinnon didn't
1
even
minute.
play. People look at McKinnon and say he wasn't that productive in Minnesota, but I think Kyle Shanahan believes pretty firmly that he was underutilized, and I think he has a very real plan to use him and Matt Breida in their running game.
Do you still expect a big hit out of them this offseason, other than the draft?
No, probably not. I think the D Ford was the major, huge signing. They might get into the Earl Thomas sweepstakes, but doesn't sound like they're interested in doing that.
We are down here in Mesa, Arizona. We are covering the A spring training. They will be leaving for Japan, I believe, tomorrow. As a matter of fact, they leave for Japan late in the day. I want to reset what we've done down here, and we haven't asked yet if it's fair to look at the A's as legit contenders this year, and if not, why not? And we'll also look ahead as to who we will have on starting probably somewhere around 7:30, 8 a.m. I would expect most of our final hour to be filled with live in press box, not studio, but press box guests provided by the A's, which will include Lou Trevino, Sean Murphy, Robbie Grossman, and Matt Williams, all scheduled to come on today. We'll do that next, top of the hour. Russell Westbrook, some resolution to that, and we'll look ahead to the Kings game tomorrow versus the Celtics right here on Sports 1140 KHTK.
The drive continues now.
All right, the drive continuing from Mesa, Arizona. Thanks to our good friends at Jiffy Lube. A bevy of A's players and one Matt Williams will join us later today. And how about this, Kyle? Today, Matt Williams is going to join us. God, I hope it's going to be sad if he cancels for some reason and that happens sometimes. But I've been talking about it all week and how excited I am to have him on.
Yeah, you're pretty hyped.
I'm very, very hyped. But also,
I think I might just leave the room for that one.
No, you can ask a question. But this is.
I'm just like, I shake his hand. I'm like, hey, how you doing? Like, you're like, that's it. That's the question.
I hope he comes on at 8:30 because I would like to present the Coors Light Cold Hard Fact to Matt Williams. It just so happens to be the 55th birthday of one William Nuschler Clark today. How about that?
Look at that.
Will Clark turns 55. Now, let me tell you something. If Matt Williams is right there for me, if Will Clark, for some reason, ever hops into a situation with us where we have a chance to interview him, I will leave the room. I will actually leave the room, and you will do the whole interview. I would watch from the glass window behind us and just kind of peek around.
Hand on the window.
Yes, Will Clark. Oh, my God, it's Will Clark.
Breathing super heavy.
Right.
Fogging out the window.
He did come on the show one time. Not in person, but on the phone. And, yeah, I absolutely really drooled over. I mean, this is the guy I wrote letters to and got postcards from. And that's my all-time sports hero is Will Clark. So that interview went probably as you could expect it. And then the end of the interview, I was like, just thank you so much for everything, you gave to me and other kids like me growing up. And we love you to death. Thanks for joining us. And he was like, hey, anytime. He has that Will Clark high-pitched country voice. And he goes, hey, anytime you're in the Bay Area, just look me up. I'd love to buy you a beer. So I hit the little IFB button. Who was it I forget who our board op was at the time. I was like, hey, tell him I'd love to take him up on his offer. And whatever his contact info is, just grab it from him real quick next time I go down there, thinking to myself, like, I will make a trip to San Francisco.
Right. Yeah, of course.
So we go to break, and I ask my guy, like, hey, so did you get the info, Wilson? He said, Will told me just to go through the Giants. I was like, okay, just go through the Giants if you want to get a hold of me. I'm like, okay, that's a very nice way of saying go away, kid. We are here to talk about the A's. And for good reason. The A's won 97 games last year. That is it. You would talk as Kings fans about how hitting 500 this year would be a success, and it would be. 97 wins by any measure. I don't care what they did in the playoffs. 97 wins was something nobody expected for the A's last year. Mm-hmm. That is in most years something that is going to win you pretty much almost every division in Major League Baseball. And obviously we know about the playoff exploits or lack thereof, but this was a team that seemingly was ahead of schedule. This was a team where, do I have this right, every opening day starting pitcher missed time last year, and in many cases significantly.
Their starting five, their opening day rotation, every single one of them missed time last year.
Yeah, and that's not, obviously we're talking about guys like Jarrell Cotton, but that's not even counting guys like A.J. Puck, Jesus Luzardo, a guy coming back from Tommy John surgery. He was in the minor leagues last year. They should have, with guys like Cotton or Mike Fiers, who they acquired last year, they should have more help in that rotation this year. No real major losses that stand out to me for the A's that it looks like would cost them games, although it's tough to know. They still have Blake Trinan, who is shut down when it comes to closing games. And by shut down, I mean he will shut the other team down. He's one of the most reliable closers in baseball. They still have the best home run hitter in the game in Chris Davis. The Mats on the corners, Olsen and Chapman, you would think, continue to get better. Ramon Laureano, you think, is going to be coming even more into his own this year. There are a lot of stars and maybe even some budding superstars on this team. Is it fair to say that the Oakland A's the expectation should be that they will meet or exceed those 97 wins last year?
Yeah, I think so. I think they overachieved a little bit just based on their rotation last year. Like, they should not – if you stacked up what their rotation looked like at the end of the year, you would not go, oh, yeah, this team's going to make a playoff push. But they did. So I think right in that 97, 95, 97 win range is possible. It should probably be the expectation. The wild card's kind of a crapshoot.
Yeah.
But, yeah, they should for sure be in the conversation.
Are they Are they just, unfortunately, a situation where they happen to be in the same division as one of the three best teams in baseball?
Yep.
You know, the Houston
Yeah,
Astros.
I think that's going to be the exact same thing again this year, where the Astros win 100-plus games and the A's are sitting there between 90 and 100 and several games out.
But should in fact be in line at the very least for an AL wildcard spot, and it's unfortunate. I would love to see the A's actually be in a position to, play a series of games.
Right.
They've just got to get over that hump of winning the one-off. Would you like to see that go to 3 games? Or do you think we're already with 2 wildcard teams in? Do you think we're already where we should be?
Yeah, I think we're right about where we should be. It would be logistically, it would be a nightmare to do a 3-game series. That's and I know it incentivizes winning the division and all that, but a 3-game series to tax your pitching staff like that and then have to jump right into a situation where you're playing a 5-game series, it would be really, really tough.
1 minute, don't forget fireworks.
I would imagine the maturity level of this team is something that's also going to be a factor in a good way, you would think. I think last year there was a lot of bright lights, big city type of situation for many of these young guys who I would imagine now are a little bit more used to that, are going to go into these games expecting to win. But at the same time, and maybe something that works against them, is I don't think the A's are sneaking up on anybody this year.
I don't think so.
All right. We will talk more A's later on in the program. Lou Trevino, Sean Murphy, Robbie Grossman, and Matt Williams all scheduled to be on the show. When we come back, Russell Westbrook was fined. We have some resolution as far as the fan in question in Utah that got into the altercation with Russ. And Jim Dolan has done radio rounds and called what happened with the fan after the Sacramento Kings game, and we'll re-explain that altercation, a, quote, ambush. Want to remind everybody you can get a hold of us at 1-800-920-1140. That's the Fire Wings hotline. 21 different flavors to choose from. Firewings.com. Just wing it. We're back with all that, plus Kings Celtics tomorrow, right here on The Drive, live from Mesa, Arizona. Thanks to Jiffy Lube on Sports 1140 KHTK.